This is an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder.
Actor Farley Granger, who was discovered by a talent scout in a local theater in the early 1940s and thrust into stardom thanks to directors such as Alfred Hitchcock, died at his Manhattan home Sunday, March 27th at the age of 85, reportedly of natural causes. Granger, who considered himself an inexperienced actor at the time, made his film debut in The North Star in 1943. After serving in the Army, he took on the role of an intellectual murderer opposite Jimmy Stewart in Hitchcock's Rope in 1948. The 80-minute movie was well known because it took place in real time in what appeared to be one long take. Hitchcock also used Granger in what's probably his best role in Strangers on a Train opposite Robert Walker in 1951. Back in 2007, I had the chance to talk to Farley Granger. This was at a time when he was releasing his memoir, Include Me Out. It was an hour-long conversation that I had with him and his life partner, Robert Calhoun, the former executive producer of As the World Turns, the man who wrote the book with him, and the man whom he shared his life with for 45 years. Here now is just a small portion of that hour-long conversation. You were actually underage when you first went to Hollywood, were you not?
Yeah, I was 17 when I was hired to do the North Star for Sam Goldwyn.
A couple of the classic films you did were with Hitchcock, Rope and Strangers on a Train.
Yeah.
Rope was absolutely brilliant, I got to tell you. I was actually a film student, and we studied that film.
Oh, really?
Yes, we did. A great. What was it like working with Alfred Hitchcock?
Well, it was fine the first time, with Rope, but it was just a very difficult film to make, and we had a lot of trouble on it. And we had to redo scenes because it didn't work. It was, all planned to be kind of all in one shot, and he planned it that way. But the film only goes for 10 minutes, so you can only do it then, and then you've got to be in a position, so that when the next 10 minutes come, you're there and you go on. But with Rope, with Strangers on a Train, which was one of my most enjoyable movies, he was terrific. He knew it was good. He knew it was going to be a hit, and he was just very jolly and happy about it and everything. And I saw a lot of them. I was invited to the house there many times for dinner and drinks, of course. Now, the memoir talks candidly about your work professionally, your public and private lives, and the fact that you were bisexual. Yeah. Was it difficult wanting to discuss that in print? No, I don't think so. I mean, that was when I was really quite young, and I don't know, I did very well. I have no problems or no regrets. Now, was there any difficulty, especially in the days of the studio system, being bisexual? The thing was, I went in the Navy and I came out, and I visited Louis Milestone, who I had worked in 2 films with, my first 2 films when I was 17. And he said, Aaron Copland is here, because Aaron Copland had done the music for the North Star. And he came on the set one day and was standing by me, and he said, "You're very good, young man." And I said, "Thank you." And he said, I said, "I guess, who are you?" And he laughed, and he said, "Well, I'm working on some songs and things for the movie." And so later I realized, I knew who he was, and he sent me an album of his. I saw him, I heard he was leaving, and I went to say goodbye to him. And that was it. And then, I was in the Navy and blah, 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 blah. And then I came out, and I found that Milestone was working on the Red Pony. And I went out to see him. And he said, "Aaron is doing the music for this movie. You should see him, too." And I said, "Oh, I'd love to." And I made a date to meet him at a little restaurant. And he met me, and we had a wonderful time, and I was being very grand about what I knew about music and, all the composers that I played and loved and blah, blah, blah. And he just really laughed and giggled at me, and he was just marvelous. And like a day or two later, I got called into the office and told, I should not be seen with Aaron Copland. And I said, how dare you? I said, this is a magnificent, important man and a most talented man. And I was just furious with them. And I walked out. I just walked out. I said, if you're going to tell me that I'm not allowed to see Aaron Copland, then you just, forget it. And I stormed out. I was really very angry.
Well, that's not something you hear a lot about when it comes to the studio system. Usually a lot of people toe the company line.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
So from that regard, you were certainly far more independent than a lot of actors and actresses that were your contemporaries.
Right. Yeah, I was. I had to be me, whatever.
Being that independent, did it ever affect the potential roles that you got? In other words, were things passed to others because the studio would felt that, no, not Farley?
No, I stood on my feet pretty strongly. I just said, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And the problem was that Goldwyn, I played so many parts at Goldwyn's where I was practically playing the same part, that I'd done in the movie before. And they were not at all imaginative with me as far as I was concerned. And I was very annoyed at that, and I was put on suspension a lot because I would refuse to do some piece of junk that they wanted me to be loaned out to.
Farley, you've worked at films, television, Broadway. Do you have a preferred medium?
Yeah, yes, I do. The theater.
And why is that?
Because it's more enjoyable. You feel like you've done something more than movies. Movies you usually shoot at the beginning. You shoot whatever it is that has the most people in it. It could be the middle of the movie or the finale, and then you go back and you just shoot all cockeyed and everything, and you get used to that. But it's not good, and to start at the beginning and go to a middle and go to an end is heaven. I came to New York in like 1949, I think it was, for the first time, and I had met friends, Betty Comden and Adolph Green and Leonard Bernstein and all these people out in Hollywood, and they were back here now in New York, and so I knew people here. And the first show I saw was Annie Get Your Gun with Ethel Merman, and it just did me in. I absolutely said, that's where you're a star. That's where you're really something, is on that stage.
Now, you mentioned there was a little bit of apprehension of anticipation of somebody coming from Hollywood to be on Broadway. Had you done any stage work before going to Broadway?
No.
And that wasn't intimidating to you in any way, shape, or form?
No. Well, I tell you what worked for me. I came here, and there was a great deal of live television going on here.
Right.
And I luckily fell into that, and I did a lot of shows and very good shows for television, live. I learned a lot from that because I got young Freud the night before I was supposed to go to rehearsal, and he was in practically every scene and everything. And I went to the rehearsal, and the director was greeting me, and he's a very nice man and everything. And we started to rehearse, and I started to read the thing off the script, and he said, I don't want that script in your hand. And I said, but I don't know any of this. I got this script last night. And he said, I don't care. I want it out of your hands. And I said, okay. So that's how it began with me. And I loved working on live television. I really did. I had great fun.
Now, that was at a time, too, since you came from Hollywood, when a lot of Hollywood stars people were trying to talk them out of doing this newfangled medium of television. Anybody tried to talk you out of it?
No, because, I was away from Hollywood, and I was... life with Goldwyn was over.
You also ended up for a short period of time working on, as I alluded to earlier, my favorite daytime television show, and that is As the World Turns.
Yeah.
What was it like for you having a regular character on a show like that, where it's just pages of dialogue every day? And I've always maintained that there's probably nothing harder for actors than doing a daytime soap.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, but you can fall into the habit of doing it, which I didn't really, because I just wanted the stage, and I did it, and I did it as well as I could, but I was much better on the stage.
He hated it.
I what?
I said you hated it.
Yeah, I hated it.
He hated every minute of it.
I hated it.
He finally developed something that he had not been plagued with since the days he was under contract to Goldwyn, which was spastic colitis, and it was just from the stress of not liking what you were doing every day.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we had a terrific writer at that time. Those were good years on World Turns, but the others liked it better. And it was very hard for us being partners, and it was hard on me as much as it was on him, because I hated seeing the pain he was in.
Back in the day when you first came to Broadway, after leaving Hollywood and leaving the studio system, of course, films, people go to the movies and you become an instant celebrity after being in a film, especially if it's successful. When you first go to Broadway, do people give you the chance, and I'm talking about both the producers and directors and also the audience, do they come to see Farley Granger, the great actor, in a role, or do they want to see the guy from A Stranger on a Train?
Well, then they came to see the guy on the Stranger on the Train.
Does that bother you in any way, shape, or form, or is it?
No, it didn't bother me at all. I expected that if they hadn't seen me in anything else, that's what they had seen me in, and that's why they came to see me in the play, whatever. And one of my great joys was in the Crucible, Arthur Miller, and one matinee, and we were in New York then. Bob came back to my dressing room and said, Arthur Miller's here, and he wants to see you. I said, oh, my God. I said, okay. And Arthur Miller came in, and he said, this is what I meant it to be. This is what it should have been when it was first done. And went on and on with such praise, I couldn't believe it. And he asked to see everybody in the company, and went down and shook everybody's hand. Now, see, that you don't get in the movies, kiddo.
That was a portion of the interview I did back in May of 2007 with actor Farley Granger and his life partner, Robert Calhoun. Farley passed away on March 27th at the age of 85. And by the way, Robert Calhoun passed away in May of 2008 at the age of 77. The book they wrote together was Farley's memoirs, entitled Include Me Out. You can go to my website at thestufffile.com, go to the Stuph File Program page for this show, which is show number 0085, and you'll find links to either Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, where you can order the book direct.
You've just heard an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder. To hear any or all of the full hour-long shows, visit thestufffile.com. Stuph is spelled S-T-U-P-H. That's thestufffile.com. A presentation of Flying Fish Communications.